Well, to contrast the mostly very official and mainstream Galaxy Buds Plus review, we are back with some Chi-Fi True Wireless sets. And boy, have I got some sussy release for you to take in for a gander today. I was browsing the local e-commerce platforms as you usually do when I stumbled on this thing. Look at me and tell me this doesn't look like a Juul vape pen. Yeah. No, but these hold something else than vape juice. They hold true wireless sets, earphones as well. In a stick shape. And it bends. Yeah, this thing just looks so weird that I just had to get it in to see what it's all about. So alright, I've stalled long enough. Let's get into this review of these S11 True Wireless. They don't have a brand name, I don't think. So, you've got a pretty standard cardboard box with, printing all over. And the design language on the printing here is more like your typical tech accessory than audio gear. Think Remax accessories style of design. But yeah, you've got the render on the front, a color indicator on the side. As you can see, I got the blue version. And the other side has a QR code, which is just the text below. I don't know what this is for, but there you go. And some regulatory symbols. In the back is yet more renders and some basic specifications. Sliding out the sleeve, you are presented with the kind of vape pen true wireless thingy, just sitting in a cutout. I think this is made of like polystyrene, and it's also got like a clear plastic cover on the top. Below that, you will get a pack which includes the charging cable. It's kind of cheap feeling, but it works. And oh yeah, this is micro USB, not USB Type-C. Oh, we'll get to that later. Also inside that pack is going to be some of these ear tips. Yeah, they are quite small, and it's technically like foam tips. It feels more like a filled rubber though. It's not that comfortable, and it's just way too small for my ears. I get that you need to have a small tip to fit the design, but like this is way too small and stiff. It's just not great. Finally, you get a QC tag. I don't know if this is used for any like insurance or RMA purposes, but there you go, quality certified. And then of course we get the instruction manual. It's filled with quite a bit of English, but it's not the funny type, it's just the boringly incorrect type. There are some little gems here though. As you can see, for the first time, use the same or the headset to enter the warehouse for 2 hours and then use it again. Yeah, you need to put it in a warehouse for 2 hours first. Remember that, alright? Yeah, these manuals, they always bring you just a little bit of humor. I mean, yeah, you just cannot avoid the comparison to the vape pen with this kind of design. It's basically a thin rectangular charging case. The material, it's matte, but it doesn't feel like metal, more like a thick plastic. And if it is metal, then well, it's not the good stuff then. You use the sliding mechanism located here to basically reveal the true wireless on the top. But this mechanism, it's not really the smoothest thing ever. It's got like kinks in the slide, which kind of makes it feel like you're breaking something every time you do it. And yeah, by this point you have probably noticed the micro USB port. I don't know why this is still being used by this point, since a USB-C port is not that much more expensive to add. So it's gonna get some minus points here. Oh, and when you plug in the cable to charge, it actually locks the sliding mechanism. I don't know if this is a feature for safety or that's just an unintentional side effect of this kind of design. That's up to your judgment. And at the bottom of the case, you are presented with an LED display which shows the battery left on the case and the charge level for like both sides of the true wireless earphones. This battery percentage display, it's a bit of an unreliable narrator, and at first I actually thought it was a little gimmicky, but it ended up being pretty cool. It tells you the charge level with more specificity than, you know, just some blinking lights do, so I quite like it, to be honest. Although, as you can see from me having to cover it up for you to see it, it's not the brightest thing ever. You'll see it in like indoor lighting, but for outdoorsy situations, you're probably not going to be able to see this too clearly. Oh, and because the inside part is not sitting tight, if I stroke it, it will make rattling noises, and oh, that thing just popped out. That was unexpected. Well, since it just flew out of the case, here you go. Here's the S11 True Wireless earphones. It really does just look like a wafer stick in this form. But yeah, you can bend it. There you go. Yeah, this is why I wanted to buy this thing, because it's so weird. The bend mechanism is pretty tight. Maybe it's a little too tight and rough feeling. Like, I don't know how long this will last. As you can see, it kind of doesn't reset to the straight part as well. But I'll keep you up to date if it does break. Yeah, you can also see that there's an LED indicator light on the side as well. On the top bit, as in this bit of the bending mechanism, is also going to be your touch panels. These touch targets are as you expect. It's quite small and inaccurate. I'm not a fan of this. Now, if you look at the nozzle, you will see that it is very small. Hence why you needed the specialized tips, as you can see. But you can do what I did. So what I did was I cut out the stem of some other silicone tips, I slipped them on, and then I put them in like this. So now you can use your normal tips with these S11 True Wireless. Voila! Although of course, with this size you can't really fit it into the case anymore, as you can see. But with the normal size tips on, the S11 True Wireless are decently comfortable to wear, since it is quite light. Still, the stem is significantly thicker than something like, say, the Neko Cake, which does stand out quite a bit when you're wearing it out in public. So for the battery on these things, you get 300 milliamp hours on the case, and about 40 milliamp hours per side of the True Wireless earphones. So you get about 2.5 to maybe 3 full charges out of the case. The True Wireless sets themselves, they get about 2.5 hours of use, similar to the KZZ1, and that's barely the minimum, but what can you expect from a thin stick thing, I guess. Stick to commute for these sets and leave long usage to the more durable sets like the Buds Plus. And charging the case takes about an hour, maybe a bit less for the True Wireless sets when charging them in the case. For the price and the form factor, I would have thought these True Wireless sets are gonna have like drop sound or connection problems, but no. They claim to be Bluetooth 5.2. I don't know if that's legit, but the pairing is simple and easy as any other set. You just pull the S11 out and they automatically connect to your phone. One thing to note is, because it's kind of hard to take them out, sometimes one side would fail to turn on, but in that case you can just touch and hold it for a bit to turn on, and the two sides will automatically pair with each other. But as with most of these low-end True Lies sets, delay is not that great. You're getting anywhere from like 250 to 500 plus milliseconds. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. You're not gaming on this thing any day now, and please don't game on a True Lies set. That's gonna be my advice always, at least until Bluetooth gets better. But otherwise, not much else. Not a lot in terms of features here. You don't even get touch and hold to summon a voice assistant, because that's the power off switch. You do get like double tap the left and right sides to skip some songs, if that's any consolation. This is pretty bare bones of a feature set for a True Wireless offering, though not unprecedented and unexpected for this price. You're paying for the weirdness of the design here, pretty much. And for codec support, I don't think this thing even does AAC. It's just SBC. So yeah, pretty bottom of the barrel here as well. The waterproofing, of course. So the quality of the S11 True Wireless mic is not impressive. I sound kind of tinny, but also muffled and a little bit robotic even, as well as the fact that this thing just does not get a lot of volume, despite the fact that it's using a stem design. You'd think there'd be like beamforming mics on it or something, but apparently not. So, for ear tips, I'll be using the SpinFit CP145 with some cut stems of other ear tips inside so that it works with the small nozzle of these things. Probably for something like this, you should just stick with SpinFits or like a soft silicone tip to just maximize the comfort. And you will have a big loss of bass if you use the stock small like eraser-like rubber tips. That is, if it even fits you, since it's so small that it can't create a correct seal. So trust me, get some normal tips for these, and I guess take them out when you put it back in a case. I don't know. Yeah, and with that out of the way, let's get into the sound of the S11 True Wireless earphone. For something that looks like this, I really thought it's just like a big gimmick with super bad low volume and a distorted sound. But no, I am decently surprised. Yeah, it has an overly boosted bass and almost no mids or highs, but it outputs a decent amount of volume, and it's a fairly easy to listen to sound. Not that grating. Like, starting with the bass. Yeah, the manufacturers for this S11 definitely overcompensated on the low end, so you get a very exaggerated sub bass with a lot of mid bass as well. Too bad the small driver in here is probably not that good, cause I'm not hearing a lot of sub bass. Rather, a lot of mid bass, which bleeds into the mids. It might be boosted, but the bass here is definitely not impactful. It lacks the energy and slam. It sounds very muddy, with the bass texture being overly soft. But still, I expected basically no bass from this thing, or horrible distortion, but no. The driver's doing a good job of avoiding these pitfalls for which other micro drivers do as horribly distorting, even at the cost of everything else. So, yeah, it's really lopsided, but also kind of alright, considering, the weird design. Now, the mids of the S11, they're also quite tilted. You do have the mid bass bleed, like I said, but the low mids are also tuned quite warm. So you get this this lush sound that is, it's comfort listening. It's kind of like the Neko Cake's low mids. Maybe a little bit thicker, and well, kind of boxier sounding actually. The weaknesses are in the high mids, where it is quite recessed and muted. You're not getting much detail out of this mid-range. And although this does play into the warm mids quite well, and overall although I don't hate these mids at all, it's actually easy to listen to, even if the timbre can be quite off and woolly at times. For non-critical listening to genres like lo-fi or warmer sounding like vocalist music, I quite enjoy this tuning actually. Well, the treble on display is definitely not the best thing ever, and the S11 knows that, so it mostly hides it away, except for the highest of registers. You get some sizzle here and there, and the occasional sparkle to color the strikes of cymbals in your songs, but it's mostly reserved. That and the wallop of bass that comes your way will probably avail you of any treble detail anyway. And because of that, the sound can get a bit congested and lack air. But hey, you don't get weird graininess and glaring issues, nor are there like super prevalent resonance peaks. And between an overreaching treble and a reserved one, I'll pick the reserved presentation. Yeah, the soundstage of this thing is not great. It's quite narrow and very in your head, and say goodbye to soundstage height, that's not here. The technical ability, again, another pain point. This is bottom tier separation, and then the bass laden soundstage comes in to exacerbate the lack of detail retrieval and resolution on display. Imaging is also messy, and elements tend to clash or blend with each other. Yeah, the technical ability for the S11 is bad. Stick to more simple songs, and the dark, warmish tuning will serve you well. But play something more complex, and the S11's weaknesses become painfully apparent. So between the S11 TWS earphones and the KZZ1, for build quality, I actually find these S11s to be better overall than the Z1. The plastic used on the buds themselves feel more substantial, and the case of the S11 is also more solid. Design-wise, the S11 is definitely the more unique one. Though, the Z1's traditional form factor is definitely better with tip compatibility and grip on the ear. Both are also using the dated micro USB form factor, so they both suck on this department, I guess. Sound quality though is a win for the KZZ1. You just get so much better separation out of the Z1, and it can sure whip up a powerful bass as well if you really wanted that. So the S11 is kind of blown out of the water here. Its warm tuning, the weak technical ability just makes it a lot less desirable than the Z1. And that's if you can get through the weird design of the S11. It's a fun novelty, but at the end of the day, the Z1 does the basics and it does it better. So that win still goes to KZ. Yeah, I wouldn't advise you to buy this thing. Aside from the fact that it looks kind of funny, there's really not much in the way of sound quality beyond that, even if it's maybe not as bad as I thought it would be. Even at this price, you can buy something that's just more conventional, and it'll probably sound better anyway. Or better yet, for the same price I bought these things, which is like $15, you could just get a good wired set like the Moondrop Corks and be well on your way to get a great listening experience for cheap. Okay, so that's a wrap on yet another review. Again, this thing was super weird, but hey, it was pretty fun to cover it, and as usual, I'll leave the links to the music I used in the description. Also down there you will find the Patreon link where you can donate, so if you want to see more videos like this, you want me to be able to get more gear in for review, yeah, that's definitely where you can support me. I also put some paid link shortener links in there, so if you can't do my Patreon, maybe just skip a few ads and help me over there. That's good too. I would love your support. But otherwise, if you like the video, like the video. If you have anything to say or have a question or suggestion, please comment on the comment section. If you want to see more of this, subscribe to my channel. We'll definitely have more content coming out, as always. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next review or video. Thank you, and this is Lumerion signing off.